So what about all of this? In some countries, women definitely making gains on the political stage, but how does being a woman really play out in politics? For more perspective on this, Marie Wilson from the White House Project joins us now from New York. Marie, thanks a lot for being here. So if women rely on women, do we know whether more women turn out to vote when they're voting for a male candidate?
Historically, women have always turned out in greater numbers, and particularly young women, I think, this year, when there are women in the limelight. And what's exciting, I think, to young women about this year is they're interested in the issues, but they're also interested in making history. And so history is a big conversation about the run for the presidency.
Leaves the candidate in an interesting position, though, doesn't it? I mean, you hear Hillary Clinton talking about her, being female in front of certain crowds, but not necessarily at your average campaign rally. I mean, is there a certain amount of risk for her in coming out there strongly and saying, vote for me because I'm a woman?
Well, she's not really saying, I think, vote for me because I'm a woman. She's saying, I am a woman, here are the issues that I am putting forward, and come and make history. But the real tough issue that we studied for the last 6 years is this balance of gender, this toughness versus being soft enough to appeal to both sides. You know, we never ask men to show their softer side. If they do, we're delighted. But we always ask women to be tough and to be tender at the same time, and it's a balancing act the Cirque du Soleil couldn't do.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm wondering if you're seeing any change in this, because I covered politics for years in Canada, covered a lot of high-profile female candidates, and even 10 years ago, they were trying to show themselves to be tough as nails. That was how they perceived their only way to win. But now I wonder if it's changed when you see the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, posing for pictures with her family, that kind of thing.
You know, this is one of the biggest changes that's happened in all the years of the White House Project. As we've studied this, up until the last 2 years, women always had to show they were, so to speak, man enough for the job. But what's happened, we think, is because people have gotten really comfortable seeing women in these national security positions, Secretary of State, Albright, Rice, whether you agree with their positions or not, the polls have so shifted so that over half the voters now trust women at the same level or more than they trust men in these issues of homeland security and foreign policy and the economy. And that has provided some space for women to actually, show a softer side without worrying. And now that the voters want some change and are looking for a little loving care, I think women have a little advantage on that.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Yeah. Curious, though, if that's true, where does that leave the male candidates this time around?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it leaves the male candidates also getting a little more freedom to show a softer side. What's interesting about this question is that if you look at Giuliani, he was tough all the way up until 9/11, and once 9/11 came about, he went out and looked soft, and people fell madly in love with him.
Yeah, mayor of New York at the time, right? Went out really, gained a lot of respect for the way he handled that.
Yeah, but mostly because he got soft for the first time.
Yeah.
But the male candidates still don't have to do that. It's the women that have to do the balancing act.
All right, Marie Wilson, thanks a lot for talking about this. Really appreciate it. It's interesting.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the road to equality for women has certainly been a step-by-step process.